Kazuha or Venti, which one is better? Which one should you summon for? Well, let's talk about that right now. So Kazuha and Venti are two amazing characters, both being anemo supports who fill very similar roles, but with some notable differences that help differentiate them from each other. And so stick around to the end of the video so you can make the right choice when summoning. Firstly, let's talk about something they both bring to the table, and that is crowd control. Whether it be from Venti or Kazuha, they both help their team immensely with their abilities, but which one is better? So in terms of just straight up crowd control, Venti has the upper hand, with not only his burst but also his skill providing a bit of crowd control that can group enemies together, allowing your team to easily DPS them down. He can be used in the world of Genshin but shines in domains where you can clear the entire domain in literal seconds given the right team, which is really crazy. Now the only real downside to his kit is versus big enemies. Now this is also true for Kazuha's abilities, which I'll get to very shortly, but now because Venti can't crowd control these enemies, and seeing as they are usually very prevalent in the later floors of the Spiral Abyss, this means that his usefulness somewhat goes down, at least if you're looking for someone to play in the Spiral Abyss. But now what about Kazuha's crowd control? Well, it's decent, but much smaller range and less effective compared to Venti's, and so Venti, at least in the crowd control department, has the advantage. But now we reach the second big difference between the two, and that is their damage. So while they are supports and are mainly there to help your team with the various things like crowd control, they can both also output decent damage, which while isn't required is a very nice addition. Now in terms of which one does more damage, I would have to give it to Kazuha, especially if he has constellations, which is another thing I would say is better, as while some of Venti's constellations are decent, the majority of them aren't, as well as the fact that Venti's abilities aren't as damaging and it's more for the aforementioned crowd control effects. Next thing that's important to mention is their energy generation. Having a battery in your team is very important, especially with main DPSs who have high energy costs, and both of these characters do a decent job with this. However, Venti does an excellent job, and that is due to one of his passive talents that will have anytime he uses his burst to generate an additional 15 energy for himself and the character who infused an element with his burst. Now this is just amazing, and with Venti you should have no energy problems and just be limited to the cooldown of your abilities. But now we reach the last big difference and what separates these two more than all of the above combined, and that is damage amplification. So while I did mention the individual damage capabilities, there is still one more thing to consider, and that is Kazuha's damage amplification. So this is the big reason why he has seen so much success in not only the Spiral Abyss but all forms of content in this game, as he will increase the damage of his own allies by a ton, which is really good, and it's the reason he can be put into almost any team out there, as added damage is always a good thing. Now on this note, there is another character that offers this sort of damage amplification, and that is Sucrose. Now she's a great character whose damage amplification can rival Kazuha's given the right circumstances. However, I feel that overall Kazuha offers a lot more, whether it be utility or just raw damage output, and so there are many factors to consider before summoning for either one. When it comes to Venti, you have his unmatched crowd control, insane energy generation, domain clearance speeds. However, he suffers from poor constellations and somewhat out of meta ability kit compared to Kazuha, who has great damage, crazy damage amplification, good constellations, but suffers from lackluster crowd control, as well as Sucrose being a very decent substitute. And so overall both have their pros and cons. However, I do think that right now in this current, let's say, meta of Genshin with enemies that cannot be grouped together, I do think Kazuha has the upper hand, but who knows, miHoYo likes to change up Genshin, and so maybe there'll be a time in the future where Venti will become great once again. But now that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video regarding both Venti and Kazuha. They are great characters, and so when they come back I highly encourage you to summon for them. And so thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.